briefing to our respective communities of what transpired based on our 2021 budget. In July last year, we embarked on a budget consultative meetings that we did for our 2020 supplementary budget that we implemented from September, and the 2021 budget. We did our consultation meetings, some in the Mutare Hall and some at the Moffat Hall with SMEs, and we saw it fit that the budget that we had crafted was ideal for the city of Mutare to offer a decent service at affordable prices to the communities of Mutare. But when we started implementing it after it has been approved by the minister at the end of January, it was slightly different from what we had anticipated as the office bearers of the city of Mutare. There was an outcry that came in from various quarters of all residents of the city of Mutare, inclusive of business residents in the low density, in the high density suburbs. And we saw it fit that we need to revisit our budget as council. And really, we needed to address one or two issues that had brought the outcry. And we sat down yesterday as council to reconsider the budget. And what we had also observed, most probably, as we were revisiting the budget through our administration, was that the introduction of the step-up water tariff that we had introduced as a city of Mutare had caused was the reasons based why our bills were such exorbitant, and we needed to revisit that. One thing that I will also want to attribute most probably to my fellow councillors and our administration is the policy that we have had, that is of the open door policy, that whenever anything arises within the city, we are willing to engage each and every progressive mind that is within the city of Mutare. And with that in mind, we tasked our management when we set as a special council to adopt the recommendations, to adopt the approval letter from the ministry, so that they have to re-look into the budget. And when we set yesterday, they brought some proposals that we needed to discuss as council. And upon that, most probably what we had noticed most probably was the step-up tariff that we had introduced, that we saw maybe the bands were too close and the punitive rate was very closer by, thereby blowing off the water bill of our respective communities. We'll be charging then in the first quarter of this year 31.98, which is RTGS, and up until the end of the year. Then we're also looking at from 26 to 50. And before I go to 26 and to 50, the other thing that we need to do, which is ideal for our high density suburbs, is only 26 kiloliters, which is close to about 30 kiloliters. That's why I assume that's the normal consumption for our high density suburbs. So we said that ban should be charged at least by $31.98. Most punitive rate that we can be able to allude to is 80 RTGS for that. And we have a roadmap that we are going to travel as of now up until we get there. And in this first quarter, we will be charging 36.90 city of Mutare. Our approved budget, we had earmarked to charge $500 US dollars or equivalent, and we had reduced that by almost 30% to bring it to almost 560 US equivalent. Our shops, which we had another band as well, that were ranging from, I think, 10 square meters to somewhere. We're now starting with 31 square meters, which had earmarked for 600 US or equivalent, and we brought that to a discount, and we're now having almost 420 RTGS, 420 US equivalent. So those are some of the charges that we have revisited after the outcry that we have seen within the city of Mtara. And let me also take this opportunity, most probably, to our esteemed community and esteemed fourth estate as you are here. I welcome your participation in bringing this issue to our communities. As we have also seen, like I've alluded, that this is the costs that we had in our budget were a true reflection of the costs needed in offering the services that we should be able to offer to our communities efficiently and above board. But as we have also affected that by reducing or discounting on the approved budget, which means some of the projects that were earmarked to take this year will be affected. And part of the service delivery as well will be affected, because we are now charging some of the costs that we are saying are now sub-economic, like I've alluded to the rentals that we are going to charge in the 4 locations that I have alluded to. So as of now, I'll give in the town clerk maybe to add on to 1 or 2.
Happened to be an area where, as management, we are instituting what I would call water demand management strategy. This is a strategy that has come about as a result of dams as well as from Pungwe River. But a study that was done in 2010 indicated that we would need water augmentation to the city by the year 2012. This study is indicative of the growth of the population against the demand for water. The study concluded, and we have since confirmed that there is what I would call a hidden water deficit in the city. Currently, it is standing at 17 megaliters per day. Why the amount of water is not readily visible as a deficit is because the supply to certain areas is not going. For example, we all know that the shortage of water in Dangamvura and Gimboki. The moment we finish the Dangamvura pipeline and we are supplying water to those areas, we will then see the deficit which was hidden as a result of non-supply to those areas. So we needed to start to educate our residents that we need to use the water judiciously. That is the reason why the punitive band in the water supply is actually saying you should not go beyond your consumption, your normal consumption. If you go beyond that, you should be prepared to pay. We are targeting to bring on board a new water treatment plant through the Odzani water, or rather the Odzi, abstracting from Osborne Dam. That means that will take a lot of resource to build, and we will need to bring up money to do that. But in the meantime, we have to be utilizing the available resources to the maximum advantage for all the residents. And those that have been abusing water, either becoming water barons for one reason or another, or not attending to water leaks, will have to pay the price of the loss of water. And that is the reason why this tariff, which has caused a lot of outcry, was actually because of the punitive band. Most people were not using their normal allocated amounts. There are some, of course, who have become water barons because they are providing water to the settlements that do not have water. And because the water was so cheap, that was not apparent, they could still pay. They were supplying and tracking water into those areas. That in itself means that if they are going to continue to do that, then they would need to be prepared to pay for those for the cost of that amount of water that they're using. Because we have instances where people would use up to 750 megaliters in a month in one household. That is way, way beyond the expected 26. So you wonder where they are putting this water. And this is when there is no fault to the supply or to the meter. So there's definitely some water barons who have been benefiting from the very cheap water levels, water prices that we have had. Having done this step-up tariff, we realize that we still have the cheapest water in the country. If we compare ourselves with the other local authorities who are supplying water, we are still way below all the other cities if we do a comparative study of the same amount of water that we are supplying and the cost. This obviously is because Mtare water has got the advantage that we do not use a lot of chemicals, and we also do not use zesta to pump it, we use gravity. The availability of gravity to push our water has its own consequences. The consequences being that we have a lot of water-based because the pressure is very high. And so we tend to have a lot of water-based which require constant repair and supply of new pipes. That also drives the cost of water in the city, because unlike other places where you can regulate the pressure, in this case it's gravity that brings the water. We know we've got mountains and the tanks are up high, and then as it goes down it builds pressure, and that in itself means our costs are not the same as the other places, but we have different costs to our water. Water provision comes with a cost, so is any essential services. I would like to say, having done what we have done as council to try and mitigate against the high cost of bills, we also expect the residents to respond in kind by paying the reduced bills. Why? Because we need to provide the necessary services to all residents. And that minimum cost that we have put on the table should be viewed in light that we complement one another. If service is going to be provided, let the residents pay up, because we are still owed a lot of money. And we expect that the impression that it's expensive is not true, because as we compared the bills, we realized that we are very much either sub-economic in certain instances, or we are just cost recovery. So the bills are meant for cost recovery, for us to continue to provide the usual refuse removal, water supply, attending to the sewer-based as well as the water-based. So I would say, as you communicate this message, please let it go out there that this council does consider what the residents are saying, but we also believe that service comes at a cost, and that cost is to be borne by the recipients, and the council shall continue to provide services on account that the residents are also honoring up by paying the cost of the minimum for those services.
News latest revelations that the city is owed much by the residents. I'd want to know how much is the city owed by the residents, and in other words, I also need to know the correct population of the city of Mtare.
Yes, in terms of what is owed, is in excess of 400 million. That is in itself as an indicator that our residents need to pull up their socks if they are expecting us to provide the services. So that amount in itself means if we can get that amount, we can be able to go a long way to provide the essential services. The population of the city is based on the 2012 census, but I believe that would have changed as we talk of 2021. Currently, I think we are preparing for another census. At that time, it's quoted in the statistical office that we were just slightly over 200,000. But I believe we are well above that now, if we consider that 2012 and now is almost 10 years ago.
You said the step-up tariff was part of a punitive process to make people aware that abuse of water has got repercussions. Residents are complaining that there was need for engagement rather than punitive measures. What efforts have you made to really engage the residents to appreciate your concerns as council through associations or whichever? This is coming from a recent survey done by some resident associations, which was clearly showing from the signing of the petition that residents are in dire need of engagement and clarification of certain efforts being made by council.
The water tariff is a punitive tariff. It is not a punitive tariff. It is a pro-poor tariff. The mayor did allude to the fact that the first 3,000 liters are for free. That means people can enjoy water in Mtare, the only place where they enjoy water for free. Then we offer the water at cost recovery in the next bend. So we are not out there to punish anybody, but we actually want people to enjoy the water that we are providing. at cost. So we are not looking at punitive aspects. But when you go beyond your normal consumption, we must discourage you to get into that band. That is when we start providing a tariff that is not just cost recovery, but it begins to cost you in your pocket because you are consuming water above the normal. So that punitive band was set at very high rate. And then we said, no, let's try and ameliorate it. In fact, if you listen to what the mayor was saying, the first quarter we're actually not going to charge any punitive amount because that's part of our process of engagement. But our engagement did not start now. Our engagement started in the budget consultative meetings that we've had. And these were attended, as the mayor rightly alluded to, the fact that various players were brought to be consulted. And when the consultation was completed, including residents associations, including residents, including business, we did start from that end. And we will continue to educate people through the media and through yourselves and through other meetings that are necessary. However, the difference was that this year, because of COVID, we could not do the standard big rallies that we used to call people to come. And that is where people are now saying we are not consulted. No, we got representatives through the councillors who represent the people to come. We got ward development chairpersons and members to come. We got the business community to come. We got the resident associations, for example, Umratu had 4 of such meetings with ourselves, discussing these matters and putting them on the table until we got enough consultation given the circumstance of COVID-19. So that statement is probably a misunderstanding of the processes of what we went through. It's probably meant to bring up the different emotions from the residents. But the consultation was definitely done, and we are continuing to do the same. What we have realized is that maybe the majority of people had not understood this. That's why we've given ourselves another 3 months to continue on a non-event tariff until we start applying it, especially on the upper band. But consultation is ongoing. As we started last year, and we will continue to provide this consultation in the future.
So, after this adjustment, what happens to the previous month's rates that were high, that people complained about?
It is resolved to go on a new tariff as of now. So the previous month's tariff or bills will be adjusted accordingly. And the February and the March tariffs will be adjusted accordingly. And moving forward, the tables that His Worship the Mayor was explaining are the ones that will be followed. So some bills will definitely come down, especially because of the water tariff. But may I continue to warn water abusers that it will not be in their best interest to continue to abuse water or to use beyond the expected normals, because they are bound to be landed with a high bills because of the water usage.
The TC talked about a new treatment plant. Can you clarify on that one?
Currently in a water deficit situation, except that the water deficit is hidden because of non-supply of water in certain sections of the city. We all know that Dangambura gets water only portions of the day. We all know that Gimboke has no water supply, and that is a city on its own on that side. This is the basis of the water deficit. When those institutions or those suburbs were put up, the water calculations, the demand for the city was such that as we speak now, we should have had extra capacity of up to 17 megaliters per day. The 17 megaliters is the one that we are saying that it's already a deficit. Once we connect to Dangambura, the demand for water will shoot up by 17 megaliters in a day. That means we must prepare now to say where are we going to get that water from, because our production capacity will be exceeded by 17 megaliters. That is why we require an additional water treatment plant. And the studies have already been done. We would need to have another treatment plant through Odzi and abstracting the water from Osborne Dam. Otherwise, we would have to go and negotiate with our counterparts in Mozambique to abstract more water, because the water that we take from Pungwe is actually international water. It flows down to Mozambique. We'd have to ask for extra water from our neighbors. Otherwise, what is clearly available is that we need a new treatment plant to take water from Osborne to supply the city of Mutare in excess of 17 megaliters according to the projection. In fact, if we follow the projection, we are expecting to say by 2030 we will need an extra 30 megaliters. When we say megaliters, we are saying 1,000 liters per day for 1 megaliter. So 17,000 liters are required in extra for city of Mutare as we speak. So that is where we need to start looking at. So we need to train our people to use water judiciously. Because when the deficit comes, people start saying, well, how come Mutare always had water? But that's not the truth. The truth is we're already in deficit and we require to provide extra water.
There are complaints, especially from industrial sector and business community, that during COVID, they are charged refuse, which is maybe with people with the rentals on buildings, they are charged refuse. But some of the businesses were closed, and most of the bills have been estimates instead of actual reading. But they continue to pay hefty amounts. What is going to be done? Is there going to be a situation where they can be reviewed on case-by-case scenarios for you to recover?
I think when we have to revisit the issue of the industries, it's not all industries that are not functional. Even those that we anticipate or have scaled down. Majority of our industries have scaled down because they are part and parcel of the essential services that we are having within Zimbabwe. But the issue of estimates is coming especially on the issue of meter reading. And I think this can only be addressed by an investment into the GIS that we have budgeted for, in trying to get gadgets that can be able to track it down as to where our people are and what they are doing, and also having functional meters within their respective premises. And I think that can be able to alleviate the issue of estimates that we have been bedeviling the city. And I'll also take this opportunity also to clarify on the issue of consultations, especially whenever we have a challenge within our file and rank. People tend to point fingers at one another. And as we speak right now, we don't deny the issue that our community is slightly burdened as of now. But as a local authority, we also are equally burdened more because our people, whenever they are, like as of now, most of them are in their locations, and the demand for services as of now is even higher. But the demand for water, the demand for refuse collection, even the demand for roads with these incessant rains, it's even more. But as we speak right now, because people have got a challenge in trying to pay for their bills, they think maybe trying to evade from being part and parcel of the process that produced the budget is essential, is good. But as we speak right now, most probably an afterthought is given us that it's not only prudent to engage stakeholders as they are, but it's also prudent for us to rope other stakeholders in within our files and rank. And I think very recently we'll be constituting a budget committee that will be able to work with in the future and the current implementation of this budget and the future crafting of further budget, so that at least by the end of the day we'll have independent communities within the file and rank that will be able to support the expertise from executive and also the support of the councillors that we have within.
Provision of service to the community requires us to take care of the minimum cost of service provision. Many are trying to avoid the cost factor that goes with the service provision because of one reason or another. Under COVID-19, Council is part of the essential services simply because we provide health services, we provide refuse removal services, water, sewer, and all. Our costs actually go up as a result of the demand for more services. Therefore, at times people are not very honest with ourselves to say, do we still want this service at this cost? And so people try to say, no, let's not pay. But that is very unfortunate because it will only lead to poorer service or no service if people do not pay for those services. We would encourage again, as I have said, that residents, businesses pay for what the services that they require. Under COVID, yes, there may be challenges, and that's the reason why we have staggered even these tariffs and bans, because we realize that people may not be earning what they are supposed to be earning. But the truth is, the service is still being provided, even when people are not earning. And when we say service, we are saying the cost of fuel has gone up in the last month or so. The cost of water, Zinwa has increased the amount of raw water. We buy water from Zinwa. The water is not brought just like that. All the water that Mtare City gives to the residents after treating and conveying it is bought at a cost which has gone up by not less than 30% in this last month, and the billing that Zinwa is giving to Mtare City has gone up. So we have to take care of those costs. Fuel has gone up, the wage bill also goes up because workers, when the cost of fuel goes up, everything goes up, and our own workers who are providing the service will start saying we cannot afford to buy this, increase our salaries.